Hello. Hello, there he is. All right. Hello. Hello. At the J. And there she is. And there she is. And there, oh, and there, all right. It's all happening. And there she, oh, it's all happening. All right. Oh, and hello. Okay. Wow. All right. I'm gonna do good after, yes. Okay. Whoa. And there, wait a minute. Oh, you're doing that weird thing. Oh, that's so cray cray. Okay. Yes. Can't you tell I have like pneumonia right now and you're messing with my head? Okay. All right, but I get it. I get it. All right. And everybody else is like, just do physics. Will you have around for a change? All right, I will. Uh, so first of all, people come, people go. Okay. So hello, Chris. Hello, Michelle. Hello, Paulina. Hello, Cheska. Hello, Katie. Hello, Shai. Hello, Yavi. Hello, Maria. Hello, Stephanie. Oh, there's Stephanie with video. All right, I get it. Awesome. So welcome back, all of you, and then also hello. I mean, welcome back. I mean, from yesterday anyway. And then good afternoon, Katie. More people. Good afternoon, Shai. Good afternoon, Fariel, like Ariel, but right. Good uh good afternoon, Marilyn. Good afternoon, Michelle F. Good afternoon, Jada. Good afternoon, Allison, and welcome. Good afternoon, Yavi. Good afternoon, Emily. Afternoon, Maria. That's hilarious, sort of. The Quantumania. Good afternoon, Victoria. Yeah, I do know who you are, Victoria. Right. It's so right. I'm now down with your last name more than I was before. Okay. Good afternoon, direct message. Um, good afternoon, Alan. All right. I think that's wait, is that everybody? That's a lot of video. Oh yeah, you noticed you did get those points for that last. I hope you know. Yes, for those I okay. No, I do have to say this. For people that are joining this class this semester, it is true that one impressive thing, unprecedented since the beginning of COVID, it is true that this group of people, oh wait, oh yeah, right, exactly. Well, it wasn't even on the exam. It was literally in your final average. It was, and it was not insubstantial. It was like, it's in the spreadsheet somewhere, but it was like, yeah, it was like 12. It was crazy. I think it was, I'll look it up, but I think I deliberately made it one more point than any other like extra thing that I had given before because it was so, yeah, yeah. I'll no, I mean he's right. Okay, so just for the people that like are joining now, weren't in my class last semester. It is true that this class somehow managed to have 100% or this, whatever, a section that involved mostly these people had 100% video showing on the very last day of class, which honestly is so impressive because as I mentioned then, and I will mention again right now, I have yet to ever be in a faculty meeting or an administration meeting. Like I have yet to be in a professional meeting where there's 100%. Even in meetings where we're talking about how to motivate students to be more participatory in Zoom classes, like literally that professors are sitting there with their video off and like yawning away. It's ridiculous. So yeah, it was very impressive when this class showed 100% video. And yes, they all did get extra, all the people that were there did get a bunch of extra points on their final average for doing that. And I will do it again. Yes. Once again, it was a yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to disagree with what Michelle F. just okay, I'm not, but I'm going to walk away now. All right, so let's do. I'm also, as you could tell, I'm a little bit even more. I will always be psychologically sick, but I seem to be bringing physical sickness into the domain as well. This early semester, like I definitely have some 20th century. Anyway, so I'm operating at low. So let's just get to physics, is what I'm saying. Okay. Wait. Just looking at the chat. Okay. Yeah. So, oh yeah. All right. Uh, so we're gonna start going over. I mentioned. Okay, more people are coming. So first of all, a thing on a spring, homework 1B. That's where this class like really needs to go. Obviously, and start dealing with like the real physics of that. As I mentioned, though, we're gonna be going over 1B for a while, and there's gonna be plenty like days. There's gonna be plenty of time to make corrections, make improvements, re-upload, get more points, et cetera, et cetera. Again, I'm largely repeating this for the sake of people that have not had me before, so may not know exactly how this works. Like, so anybody who turned in homework 1B, a thing on a spring, anybody who turned it in on time for this class already, uh, has turned in a draft which could still be revised and uploaded, and therefore has gotten draft points. That is to say, if you turned it in already, then you've already gotten something like 24 or 23, I can't remember, but you've gotten like 23 out of the 35 points just for turning it in, like promptly. That just in the same way that that is not necessarily your final document, that is also not even your final score. Like I haven't graded them and I haven't looked at the work. I just got it right before this class. So you're just getting a starter set of points to acknowledge, like, thank you for turning it in promptly. Now I'm just going to start looking at it, in more detail for the rest of the points. And you and as you do more, you'll do more again. So eventually anybody who wants to will be able to get all the points on it. Again, I'm just explaining that for people that, that this is a new system for. So if you got a score on your homework 1B, if you got a score like 23 or 24 or something like that, don't think it means you've necessarily made mistakes or that you have to correct anything yet. It means I haven't even looked at it. And you may know in your heart that you haven't completed it yet. It may be by accident. It may be a fair score already, but it's just a starter dialogue. Yeah, okay. Oh, where do you see your grades? Wait a minute. So there's some questions in the chat. So hang on a second. In the private chat. Uh, if you, I mean, that's a very fair question. Someone's asking, where do you see our grades? Well, in a way, it looks different on my side from yours, but I, if you did homework 1B, you should just get it back as a notification, which I guess means it goes to your email box the email address that you gave me, and it should have a grade. It won't have any marks on it yet because I didn't mark anything, but it should have a grade right on it. Like if that's, hold on, I'm just gonna look if the person who's asking the private chat, I'm just looking to see if it apply, hang on one second, because yeah, you should be able to see your grades. Um, hang on. And test, sorry, also, for example, sorry, you anything that you've turned in so far, anybody that's turned in any game, turn at all, like game turn 1 for the 5 points, for midnight, or any of these other game turns, because a number of you already have. I've noticed like people have already turned in like showing video or like subscribing to the YouTube channel or whatever. Like, and any of you who have turned in any of those games should, and certainly if you turned in homework 1A, then you definitely should already see it back with a score on it. Again, almost none of these things would really have comments or anything because most of them were just to see that you did them. But I'm a little concerned if it's not obvious. So I you, so if you have turned in stuff at all and you have not gotten back anything, or you don't see grades or numbers anywhere, something is not right. Hang on. So I'm checking right now. I'm now checking the person that asked me that. Hang on a second. And also, if there's more in the chat, I can't see it from the moment. Hold on. Yeah, sorry, I really am sick. I'm sorry. Wait. So oh, thank you. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, great. So first of all right, so you found it. Sorry, good. No, fine. But I'm glad you asked. Second of all, I'm glad that Katie and Maria like helped out with their answers, because also even if it's all like irrelevant and even if the direct chat person has found their work, that's cool. No problem, because this should be clear to everybody. And here's the deal, direct chat person, like to everybody. So problem solved, fine. But just for the record, again, for people who are, just getting accustomed to me or to my way of doing things, I want you to notice that the way Maria and Katie like helped out in the chat and like gave a helpful suggestion to their colleague, please remember that is a portal as well. Like the fact, and it's a portal for both the direct chat person, even if it's direct chat, like even if I'm not mentioning that person by name, that person and Katie and Maria, because a collaborative thing just happened because one colleague was like acknowledging another colleague, any of those three people, all of those three people can open up the portal, that could go to the portal that says multiplayer co-op. I know it all sounds like a joke. I mean, that's what's a game. It's all silly, but it is all real. If you go to the thing that says multiplayer co-op, like Maria can go in there because she just helped a colleague, and the colleague that, so she could just like remind me or screenshot this, like I helped when someone asked where do they find their homework grades, and the person who's asking, yeah, like they can go and say, oh, my colleague Maria helped me. Like even if the help was unnecessary by that point, it doesn't matter. So I just want to make clear that's another portal right there where you help each other out. Because I know this is like really redundant for some of you, but it's like the older I get and the more time goes on, the more important it is to me to fight the fight and keep reminding you guys that I will do everything in my power to reduce the competitive instinct in my science classes. I know there's a lot of competition in the other science classes. I'm not pretending to do anything about that. I mean, it's not my business. But since you have so much competition in the rest of this department, and some competition is a good thing. Like I'm not even saying it's bad, but you have enough of it in other places. So this is supposed to be a place where we learn the other thing, where we actually learn that there's more to go around if more of us. So anyway, anything I can do to get you guys to help each other's grades is like what I will do. So therefore, okay. So, but I think you get it. So, okay. And then Chris said open a portal for that. Yes. Oh, I think I'm not even, I mean, sure, but for where, he'll tell me. I mean, I'm always open, psyched to open a new portal, but I'm not even sure for, okay. But anyway, all right. Okay. So that's that. So I think that's all good. So yes, anybody who's turned in anything thus far should have gotten some numbers already. I mean, everything has a number on it so far. That will obviously start to slip soon, but, okay. Excuse me. So we have to get to start talking about homework 1B, like that's like the real point of the class. But first, I want to close the lid on homework 1A. Like everybody did it quickly yesterday as sort of practice starter assignment. That's fine. Um, and also again quickly to remind, well, no, yeah, okay. So everybody did homework 1A. Let me quickly tell you what the point of it was. Like it was a silly exercise, a seemingly silly exercise, but it actually was meant to make a point. What time is it? So I'm talking homework 1A first. Here we go. Okay. You had 5 tasks, right? The first one, and you might have to help me out with this, but oh, actually, okay. So the first task that sorry. The first task that you were asked to do was to put 2 points of mass at 2 points of space at 1 point in time, right? That was the first request. Can you put 2 points of mass at 2 points in space at 1 point in time? And really quickly, can I just get, oh, what called? What is what called? Wait, what is it? Oh yeah. Wait, oh sorry. I see in the chat. I'm looking in the chat. I see what Katie wrote and what Cheska asked, but you know what though? Sure, I'm willing. Okay, just as long as it's in the chat, like, and this also counts as multiplayer co-op and all that. But okay, yeah, and thank you, Cheska, and thank you, Katie. The truth is, I actually thought that meant promptness for coming to class, but I guess I don't care. And I don't know why it appeared this semester and didn't appear the last semester because I didn't. I'm somehow I just got buried in the last semester. I actually thought, well, all right, we'll just leave it to go. I think I originally intended that actually for in person for actually showing up, but I don't care. However you interpret it, yeah, sure, yes. All the portal we can always. Well, how does it work? Oh, okay, wait. Oh, oh no, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the chat. Maria's right. Katie's right. Jessica's right. So yeah, like, okay, so there you go. I guess that is right. Like, so basically, if you, because we all know, or we're gonna know, I start slipping on like the return exchange of a side. But if you could keep up and keep turning in things early on time before we even start going over them, yeah, you get extra reward. And if you could keep a record of that or screenshots, yes, absolutely, you could get extra points for that. That I didn't even realize I'd done that, but yeah, sure, absolutely. So, and again, all of you at any moment, or any of you, at any moment you ever think of a way that you participate, that you think like it hasn't been noticed or recognized or encouraged, like if you think of some new way or some cool way of participating, just send me a text or send me an email. Say, could you open up a portal for this? I love the portals. Like, there's no limit to how many could be in existence. Even if one person uses one only once, so what? So yeah, okay, all right. So back to homework 1A. And again, for those of you who are new, the whole portal thing, if I don't know if this helps clarify it, but if you're trying to understand how to use the portals, really, they're all based, and this is one of the reasons it's called a game. They're all, I know I said this last semester. For those of you who are new, this whole game portal thing, it's all based on Nook Miles, on the Tom Nook Miles thing from Animal Crossing, if that helps. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. You know, but if you happen to have ever played Animal Crossing in any format, like it's just that idea that we're just like any behavior that's good, as long as you remember that you did it, you like apply for the mod. You say, like, I did this thing, I grew 3 vegetables or whatever, I sold 3 turnips. And then you get right. It's based on that, if that helps. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, did I not say that last semester? Yeah, it's totally. And don't even get, anyway, yeah. I mean, you should see Joe Walters and Professor Walters and I used to have big fights over whether Tom Nook was the biggest crook or the biggest benefactor and all of it. He's a controversial character, but okay. Anyway, oh God, I'm so sick. All right, homework 1A. First question was 2 mass points and 2 space points at 1 time point. Quick show of hands, electronic hands, just quick. If you, and I want everybody to vote one way or the other. First, I'm going to say, just quickly raise your electronic hand if you voted that this task number 1 from 1A, vote if you said this was possible. Just show electronic hands. Okay, okay, cool. All right. And keep them up for a second. Okay. Again, I'm saying the one that's on the board right now. All right, we have a bunch of, and don't submit to peer pressure. I mean, you can, but all right, cool. So I'm repeating if people are just paying attention now. Homework 1A, the very first one, 2 mass points, 2 space points, 1 time point. All the people that are raising their hand are saying it's possible. Okay, cool. Thank you. Put your hands down. Anybody, I'm not trying to embarrass anybody or shame. I'm just trying to get a survey here. So do you put your hands down? Raise your hand if you said it was impossible. Okay, that's nobody. Oh, that's Jade. That's no, Shy saying no. Okay, but Jade is saying impossible, and Shawnee's saying impossible. Okay, cool. Now put your hands down, and I'm going to ask: raise your hand if you did not vote? Raise your hand if you're lying right now. Really, everybody did vote? I think, okay, I'm sort of willing to believe that. It sort of seems good. I hope so. There's no reason not to vote on this. You cannot be, there's every reason to vote. Okay, so a bunch of people said it was possible. Some people said it was impossible. Now, in general, with these tasks, I mean, we could have a whole debate and a whole discussion, but I kind of want to keep things on track. We're not going to have a whole debate and a whole discussion. I will say this, though, with each one of these tasks, well, I am going to give you the answers or what I think the answers are. But before I say what I think the answers are, let's just establish this. For each one of these tasks, if we're saying possible or impossible. Well, if it's possible, if someone's claiming it's possible, all they need to do is sort of show a demonstration. And if you could demonstrate it once, if you could show it once, I mean, that doesn't show that it always is going on, but it shows it's possible, right? So in order to show that one of these is possible, someone just has to physically do it with their hands. To show that these are impossible, it's not good enough just to not do it. That doesn't show that it's impossible, right? So to show that one of these is impossible, someone would have to sort of give an argument or analysis or an explanation, right? It seems to me to say possible, you would show a demonstration. To show impossible, you would give an argument or an explanation. So I'll just ask now, do either of the people, and I'm not putting anybody in the spot, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but either of the people that said it was impossible, does either of you want to, like right now, just like give a reason or an argument to why you said it was impossible? Going once, going twice. No. Okay.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I have to open up my homework to read it to you. The reason why I chose impossible, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fair enough. All right. Cool. Cool.
I made a mistake.
Oh,
2, 4, and 5 are impossible.
okay, fair enough. I totally appreciate your honesty and I appreciate that you thought it through. Okay, and that actually clarifies a lot. So I'll cut to the, so does anybody, and okay, so she like, it was a mistake. So does anybody, so all right, I'll cut to the chase. I think she's right. I think you're all right. I think it is possible too. Like no one wanted to provide an argument for why it's impossible and demonstration of it's possible. Like here it is right there. Like, oh, well, you can't see here. Well, you, whatever. Here's a pen. Here's a thing, a coaster. You can't see them because of some weird optical effect. But duh, here's my two hands. They're in two spaces at one time. Boom, it's possible. Is that a surprise? Is that a trick? Is that interesting? No, no, no. It's meant to set up a contrast. You'll see where I'm like the point that I want to make with this. We'll see by the time I get to the fifth example, so or the fifth task. So I'll keep going. But yes, I agree. Unless anybody wants to debate or question, I think number one is possible. Okay. Then number two, and again, it's not meant to be a trick. It's meant to build a point. Number two said two mass points. Whoops, sorry. Two mass points, uh, two time points, one space point. Now that's a little bit more awkward, right? That there's something about that language that you don't hear as frequently. It is clearly a different question. It is clearly asking something different. I don't know if the answer is different, but it is a different question. Quickly, you want to raise your electronic hand for whether you think this one is possible. In other words, the second one, task two. We got some hands. We got some hands. All right, cool, cool, cool. Okay, cool, awesome. 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 That's a lot. Okay. Oh, electronic and biological. Awesome. And then like a ceiling. All right. Great. Great. So put your hands down. Thank you. Now, did anybody say this is? Thank you. Awesome. Did anybody say this one? Oh, wait. There's people in the chat. Oh. I missed something important in the chat. I'm going to go back to the chat in a second, but I'll just wrap this up first. Just quickly on this one, number two. Does anybody say this one is impossible? It looks like Shawnee maybe does. Wait, does anybody say number two is impossible? Okay, wait, Michelle F. Okay.
I find it impossible.
Okay, Shorty says impossible, and Michelle F. also saying impossible. Okay, and I recognize there's a thing in the private chat. I will go back in a minute, but just for a second, Michelle F., do you want to explain what you're saying?
I said that it was impossible because it was two different points in time. Like my brain understood it as two different points in time, which you can't put two of the same things at two different points in time.
You
I have a
can't.
question.
Okay, wait, I'm thinking about. Okay, wait.
Uh,
Wait, you can't. I agree with you. That is what the
Possible
question is.
because it have specific locations in both space and time.
Wait, sorry, I missed that. Say that one more time.
So you can
Wait, sorry. You're fading in and out. Sorry, say it one more time, Shawnee. Okay, I'm missing what Shawnee's saying, and I know Chris is about to ask a question, But just to go back to Michelle for 1 second. Wait, so what I definitely agree is that Michelle, and I assume Shawnee,
Yeah, I said that it was impossible in physics as objects have specific locations in both space and time.
yeah, they do. Okay, that's interesting. And maybe that's what Michelle F is saying as well. That is true. Okay, so all right, I want to respond to that in a minute. That is true. And what Michelle said is interesting if I understand it correctly. And I definitely think Michelle and Shawnee are understanding what the task is. Like I don't think that there's a misunderstanding about what the task is asking. I'm going to say more about it, but it does seem to be creating confusion. And by the way, the reason I'm lingering a little bit on this one is for sure, there's something more awkward and weird about the second task compared to the first. I mean, even though the words they're all the same words, just put in a different order, but there's definitely something a little bit more head scratchy about the second one than the first. It is worth getting straight. Now, I have a couple of things to say about it, including I want to respond to something in the direct chat, but also I think Chris just said he had a question about it.
Can I ask my question?
Yeah, please. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, please.
So when it says two mass points and two time points, can't the time just be different times?
Right. So this might be, maybe this is where some of the confusion is happening. So yes, I mean, the answer is yes. And all right, and let me, oh, and that's fine. I see something in the direct chat about doing the assignment. I got you. Just, uh, okay. Yeah, I got you in the direct chat about the assignment. That's cool. But there's something else in the direct chat that was asked a couple minutes ago that might be part of the confusion here. Like, so, all right, I'm not going to read the person's name, but I'm going to read, like, someone a couple of minutes ago in the direct chat said objects, and they're admitting that they're a little confused. Like, it's not like they're not being disagreeable. The person said objects can be different sizes, so can't objects be different sizes, so can't they take up different amounts of space? I'm not sure, really, they said. Now, here's where that's a legitimate concern to bring up. So let me back up. I think we might be getting confused about this whole business of points and mass and points. What the whole assignment is trying to ask us to picture, it's trying to ask us to do what physicists do. It's trying to ask us to picture sort of everything in the world as pixels, like pixels, like in video games. Like we're picturing everything as dots. So we're picturing the whole world as a whole bunch of dots of different dots of space, like coordinates. Like if the whole world is a big coordinate grid, you know, in 3 dimensions of space, like you have the point x equals 2, comma, y equals 3, comma, z equals 4. Essentially, like altitude equals this, latitude equals this, longitude equals that, right? Like every point in space could be defined as having like 3 coordinates in space. And every point in time can have a coordinate in time, like 1 o'clock and 37 seconds or whatever. So we're picturing that the whole world can be subdivided or zoomed in on as a bunch of different like dots, points of space and time. And then similarly, I think this is a sort of tricky part. It takes a little bit of imagination, but then we're saying also picture objects that way. So if the two things that you had in your desk were like a pencil and a cell phone, what the assignment sheet is trying to say at the beginning with this whole the center point of like qualifications, it's trying to say that your cell phone might be what you're considering thing number one, but really it's not the whole cell phone that is thing number one. It is some point of mass, some little like electron or like little dot in the center of that phone that's representing the whole phone. So that when we say from now on, my thing number one, my cell phone, what we're really just talking about the dot at the center of the cell phone. So, and we're moving it around in space and time, the cell phone. So what we're trying to like sort of picture and discuss is if I say in task number one, can two different points of mass be at two different points of space at one point of time. I'm going back to number one now on purpose because most people seem to agree about it. So I'm going back to one that I think we all understand like better. In that first one, when we ask, can you have two different points of mass at two different points of space at one point in time? We mean like, can the center of the cell phone be over here at this dot of space, while the center of the pencil is over here at this dot of space? Could those both be occurring at the same one dot of time? Like two, sorry. Like 1:37 or 12:46 and 37 seconds or whatever. Sorry. I don't know why I'm covering my mouth exactly if I'm in a computer, but I guess it's gross not to. But anyway, uh, um, so it's all dots, it's all points of mass at points of time, points of space. So sorry. So the first one, if everybody's agreeing that the first one is possible, it's because we're saying, yeah, you could have like two electrons at two different locations at one moment in time. Like that's what everybody's saying. And I agree. I'm not trying to trick you. I'm not trying to trick you at all. I'm trying to establish these five different cases because I think when we put them together, the conclusions from these five cases, we get a package that means something. So, and I think that we have to apply the same rules of understanding to each of the five cases. So it's actually not a joke. It actually is like worth going over. But whatever you understood or pictured for the very first one is the kind of thing you want to picture for all the rest of the other four. So I guess to cut to the chase, hopefully this will clarify. So basically when someone said in the direct chat, like objects can be different sizes, they can take up different space, amount of space. Very valid point. Very worth being concerned about. But I'm saying, yeah, but actually we're not worried about if we talk about some big calculator, I actually don't care how big it is. So, and for example, to make it even more clear, say you have this big calculator and the center of it is right here, even if the whole calculator rotates, even if like one corner of it starts going up and the other corner starts going, as long as the center of it is still at that space, then I would say for our purposes of this discussion, the calculator has not moved. If that, we're talking about pixels of mass in pixels of space during pixels of time. Therefore, to cut to the chase, number two, I guess I'll just say it and you tell me. I'm saying in number two, can you have two different points of mass at one point of space at two different points of time? I would say yes, you can. It's not the same demonstration as case one, but it is definitely equally possible. It's equally easy. How would I do it? How would I do number two? I would do something like I would go, here's the pen, here's the center of the pen right here, right now. Okay, it's like right here at this dot. And then a little bit later at some other time, here's the center of this object at that same space that the pen was. Like if I put the pen here now, and then I put the coaster here later, I think that is having 2 points of mass at one point of space, but at 2 different times. I'm not trying to trick anybody. If you're thinking, oh, that's what you meant, Yaverbaum? Yes, that's what I meant. Just note, so I'm saying I think 1 and 2 are both actually possible. I think they are different. You have to do something different to make each of them happen, but they're both possible. You can have 2 different objects at 2 different spaces at the same time. You can also have 2 different objects at 2 different points of time at the same space, as awkward as that sounds to say. Now I'm going to pause for a second before I go on. You may have been thinking something else, but if you see now what I'm like saying, and I'm going to look at the chat. A, does it make sense what I'm saying? B, the most important thing to ask yourself, and don't worry don't think like, oh, you're trying to trick us. I promise I'm not trying to trick you. I'm just trying to establish something. Whatever interpretation, the one thing to check is, however I interpreted the words of the first task, I believe I'm interpreting the words the same way for the second task, and I will continue to interpret the words the same way for 3, 4, and 5. So even if originally you were interpreting them some different way, I totally understand that. but can you see this consistent interpretation from here on in? So I'm gonna look in the chat and see if that makes sense to people. Wait, oh gee. Oh, great. Wow, I love it. Oh, sneezes on the camera. Wait. Okay, cool. I'll go with the sneezes and genius. I like the G. Right. No, okay, cool. It makes sense. Cool. Okay, it makes sense. Great, fine. And I love it when people say, great, thank you. And I appreciate the honesty. If you weren't thinking about it this way before, I get it. All right, so cool. And again, I'm not doing this to waste your like, cool. So I'm gonna go on now to task 3. Okay, task 3. And even if we don't get to 1B, homework 1B today, even if this is all we do today, it's first of all, that would not at all be the first time, I promise. Second of all, it's totally fine. We're going to take as long as we need to with homework 1B, don't worry. But this is, I don't know why I'm so defensive. I'm so defensive. All right, so 3. 3 is 2 mass points, I believe. Yeah, 2 mass points, 1 space point, 1 time point, right? I believe that was task number 3. So, question to you, raise your electronic hand. If now, and you might be changing your answers now. Your answer might now in your head be something different from what you put in the homework. And by the way, I don't care. You'll notice again, with this homework, you get all the points as long as you just turned it in as a PDF and just like, I don't care what your answers were in the homework, and you don't have to go back and change them. It doesn't matter. And those of you who wrote in the direct chat that for some reason, like you didn't get a chance to do this yet, just, it's almost, as long as you turn something in that shows that you know how Google Classroom works, it's fine. It's more, so like pay attention now and get the right answers from me now is more important than, all right, you get my point. So for this one, raise your electronic hand if you say this one is possible. Okay, so, okay, few. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, many. So this one is possible, we're saying. Okay, so you're raising your hand if you think this one's possible. That's about half, or that's like 9 people. Okay, put your hands down, please. All right. Now raise your hand if you say this one is impossible. Interesting. Now, no. Okay. Now, raise now. That's 8. That's an even split so far. So, and now everybody's saying that this all makes sense. So now I feel like we're all on the same page of interpreting these things. So put your electronic hands down now. And I will say too, raise your hand if you did not vote. Did everybody really vote? Wait, 8 and 9? Everybody did not vote. 12, 16, 19. Oh yeah, I guess everybody did because I didn't vote. All right, good for you. I eat my words. Everybody did vote. That's awesome. So everybody voted and it's literally 50-50. So, well, no, it's not literally, but it's 8 and 9. So that's something's going on here. So I guess I'll hear from anybody. Either if you said it was possible, I'd like you to show a demonstration of this. And if you said it was impossible, I'd like you to give an argument or an explanation for why you're saying that. Anybody, like anybody, either way. I don't want to single anybody out. Anybody wants to either show a demonstration of how this is possible or an argument. Oh, yeah, go. Sorry.
I want to show it's possible.
Okay.
Okay, so me and Shy were 2 mass points and 1 space point at the same time.
What's the one space point that you're at the same time?
The couches.
Well, wait, okay, wait. I'm not trying to argue. Okay, but I totally am. Wait. I mean, good point, articulate, and that definitely shows that you understand the question. I definitely see your point, but here's my issue with what you just said, and I like it. And that also, by the way, you can count that as multiplayer co-op because you included Shy in your whole like worldview. So that's great. But here's my, with all due respect, with all due respect, when you call the couch a space point, I think that's violating the interpretation that we just said a minute ago about like a space point would be a point in space. Like the couch is a region of space, maybe. It's definitely like it takes up a lot of space for sure. But I mean, the couch is not a point in space. The couch consists of many, many, many points in space, I think, right? Like for you, so I definitely agree that you and Shy are on the couch. I mean, that's awesome. And thank you. But like, I guess I just want to say, wait, but aren't you at 1 point over here on the couch and she's at 1 point? And not only, and when I say you or she, by the way, also to be specific, like you, okay, to stick with this, yeah, when we talk about Chris being on the couch, in our interpretation of this whole, and this doesn't mean he's wrong in his answer. I'm just saying, in terms of the interpretation, like when we talk about Chris being at a point in space, we're talking about a pixel at the center of Chris, which represents Chris in general, being at some pixel like in the couch that represents the couch in general. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like, so I guess I'll be blunt. If we go with that interpretation, Chris, would it change your answer?
Kinda.
That's it.
'Cause I'm thinking like, what if like you put like two objects on top of each other in the same space? That work?
But even if you put them on top of it, if you're really reducing, if we're thinking of everything in terms of points, even if you put two objects on top of each other, are they really occupying the same space point? Like, oh wait, I'm looking, wait. Well, okay, they would literally have to fuse, right? I mean, oh, okay, I'm looking at the, oh, okay, now wait a minute, wait a minute. Wait, okay, I'm looking at all the things in the chat. There are interesting stuff going in the chat. Oh, there's a lot in the chat. I like that part about me being a genius, but no, okay, wait. Wait. All right. I was all clear. Okay, to cut to the chase. It seems to me if we're being strict about points, and again, maybe I'm being very strict about points, but what I'm trying to insist is I'm not being any more strict about points in one example or one task than I am in another. Like in the first two tasks, we were strict about points, like point of mass, point of time, point of space, and yet we could pull off the first two tasks. But if we continue to be exactly as strict about points as we were in the first two, I guess to cut to the chase, I'm saying, yeah, I don't think we can do it with number three. Like, yes, you can stack things on top of each other, but that's taking advantage of their size. That's sort of cheating. That's sort of that's really using more than 1 point in space to have them occupy. We're trying to have two things occupy 1 point in space, like I guess to really get to it, what Alan said in the chat, and also what I'm gonna get to in a second, what Alan said and what Fariel said. Yeah. They show that shows a real depth of understanding this issue here. Like Alan is right. Like for two things to literally occupy, for 2 points of mass to literally occupy the same point in space at the same point in time, if anything, you'd have to fuse the things together. Like to really honor the interpretation I'm saying, it wouldn't be good enough for them to be next to each other or on top of each other, because then they're at two different points of space. You'd have to literally like melt them or fuse them together, like Alan's saying. The thing is, once you would do that, if you would literally fuse them, then if you literally fuse them, that means combine them, make them into one thing. So then it'd be one thing. It wouldn't be two things anymore. That's why you'd have to do that. Right. I'm not trying to argue with anybody. I'm trying to show that, wait, there is something different. Okay. What I'm asserting is task one, I think was totally possible once we understood the interpretation, without much effort, you could totally do number one. Same thing, number two, you have to do something different. You have to do like, in number one, you go like this. In number two, you go like this, two different things, but you could do each one. Number three, I'm saying, you can't do it unless you do something super tricky. Like Fariel said, I keep saying, yeah, Fariel said, she said something very like, woo. She said, wait, I know it was there somewhere. She said, yeah, what if the centers are aligned? Which I assume she means something like, She means something like, could you put a pen, say your two objects were like a donut and a pen, or a pen and a cup, right? I think this is what maybe Fariel's getting at. One way you could do something really clever and get around everything I'm saying is if you put the center of a pen right in the center of a donut, like like not a bagel, a donut, like something that had space in the middle, right? Or similarly, if you put the center of a pen in the center of a cup, so like one thing is an item and the other thing is kind of like a container that has space in the middle. That would be a clever way. And again, I think that's what Ariel's talking about, perhaps. Fariel's talking about. That would be a clever way of getting around like my issue and apparently seemingly having 2 points of mass occupy 1 point in space at 1 point in time, except that, listen to what I just said though, except I just said 2 points of mass at 1 point of space at 1 point in time. Like, even if you did that, if you put a pen in the middle of a donut or the middle of a coffee cup, it seems like you've broken through and you've cracked the code and you've gotten away with something, except the reason you've gotten away with it, the whole way, your whole technique for getting away is that you got rid of the mass of one of the objects from its center, right? I'm not saying it's not super clever. It's so super clever and super smart that it is worth talking about. It's so super clever and super smart, just like align the centers, that it actually really shows what the issue is here, which is this. You could put the center of one object at the center of the other object as long as only one of them actually had mass at its center, which then goes to show the actual original point here, which is, hang on, apparently what we cannot do, I'm saying, what we cannot do is have two different points of mass at 1 point of time at 1 point of space. I'm saying, now again, is this a big punchline? Is class over? Am I saying you should feel blown away or you should feel stupid or say, no, none of that. I'm trying to build a point. I want to get to number 5 to actually make my point. But so far, what I'm saying is, even though we asked like these 5 like seemingly silly tasks, and even though it's like kind of all the same words just being put in different places, I would assert that if we apply the same rules of interpretation to the meaning of the word center, the meaning of the word point, the meaning of the word time, etc., whatever these things mean, I would say so far, number 1 is totally doable. Number 2 is totally doable. I would say number 3 is not doable. I would, in English, I'm going to move on a second, or I'm going to look at the chat. But in simple terms, I'm saying you can't have 2 different things at one space at one time. You could have 2 different things at one space at 2 times. You could have 2 different things at one time at 2 spaces. Weird to say, but true. You could have 2 different things at 1 point in space at 2 points in time, or you could have 2 different things at 1 point in time at 2 points in space, but you cannot have 2 different things at 1 point in space at 1 point in time. That's what I'm saying so far. Wait, I'm going to look at it. Let me just look at the chat. I mean, is that, again, it doesn't matter what you thought last night or 5 minutes ago. Does it make sense what I'm saying so far? Wait, so okay, so LOL kind of sort of. Okay, fair enough. Wait, hold on, wait. I'm looking. Right, the technical, like the Maria thing, the Paulina thing. Now salt dissolving water, that's an interesting example. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, cool. Thank you, Paulina. So I'll ignore Chris and just go with Paulina. No. Chris is like, salt dissolved in water starts getting into closer into the issues. That is a good, I mean, it's a really good thing to bring up. But even there, like if you really think about what dissolving means and what's going on there, I mean, the salt is spreading out through the water, right? Is there really any one point in space where there really is a dot of salt at the same place as a dot of water. To be more specific, if water is made up of 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen, and if salt is made up of 1 sodium and 1 chlorine or whatever, like, is there really any point in the space where you have a sodium and you have a hydrogen, right? Or put another way, are you really having 2 different electrons? Like, isn't this starting in a way to sound like something familiar from chemistry? This might, some of you might recognize part of what I'm saying as somewhat familiar with the Pauli exclusion principle, right? There is a relationship between what I'm talking about and that. I'm asserting, I don't think, so far, I don't think objects of a certain kind share space, literally. They can intermesh through a space, but I don't think an actual point of mass, even like a point of sodium, is at a point in space where there's a point of hydrogen. I don't think. But it is a very good example, though. I'm going to go on. 4. So 4, now we move to like one object at a time. So 4 is 1 mass point, 1. Shawty's back. Oh, yeah. All right. So number 4 is I'm going to give you time to, I'm going to ask for a vote again on number 4. I'm going to give you a second to think, though, because clearly, I mean, you're all very smart people. And I know it's a weird, unexpected assignment. So I think part of what's going on here is like, I'm trying to realign your minds to think of the assignment sort of the way I was thinking about it, or I am thinking about it. So maybe you were thinking about it a different way before, but now that we've done 3 examples of it, and you're thinking about it that way now, take a moment to freshly think about number 4. It doesn't matter what you thought last night. Freshly think about task number 4 right now, and take a moment, and then I'm going to take the vote. Like, 4 is 1 mass point, 2 different time points at 1 space point. It's awkward to say. That doesn't mean it's impossible to do. Or maybe it is. Or put another way, 1 mass point at 1 space point at 2 different time points. So if you Chris's thing in the chat is interesting, depending on what he means. Well, it's interesting either way, but it might even be accurate depending on what he means. So if you've thought about it for, well, maybe we're gonna add something. I like Chris's example in the chat. Think of it says, think about a train entering a train station at 2 different times. As long as, like, there's something powerful about that, but as long as what he really means by that is think about like a mosquito on the windshield of the train entering. Oh, train of thought, very nice, excellent, excellent. But seriously, as long as by train, what he really means is some dot, some point at some location of the train that represents the whole train. Like, if we think about the whole train, that's where I think we're getting confused. If you think about some dot, like a mosquito on the windshield of the train, or a mosquito in the middle of the train representing the whole train, then it's a good example. But if you're trying to, if you think of a train as some long thing where the front of it enters the station and then like 5 minutes later, the back of it enters the station, that's confusing. Like, that's off, that's clever, but that's sort of off the topic because we're trying to think of 1 point of mass, whether it could be in 1 point of space at 2 different times. So again, I'll just say, ask yourself, can the mosquito on the windshield of a train, could it be entering the train station at 2 different times? Like, that's what Chris's example is saying. That's a good. So I'll say now, therefore, raise your hand if you say yes, it is possible. Raise your electronic hand if you see it. That's it. That's a lot of, and these are fast too. But I feel like we're actually getting a lot of people and very fast. All right, awesome. Thank you. Oh, and peer prep. Okay, awesome. So now put those hands down, please. Okay, so now raise your hand, or you can put them down. If okay, now thank you. Awesome. Yeah. Wow, you guys so harsh. I mean, I'm happy to be the mosquito on the trail. I'd be the person I'd give it to. Oh, I get it. Mosquitoes disease. Right. Okay. Well, isn't it a good thing that, well, anyway, whatever. Yeah. If this were 60 years from now and the internet were as advanced as it presumably would, like, will we, you ever, oh, so stupid. I'm just glad the internet has not gotten advanced to the point where like this stuff of mine is going through it to you, because I would be giving you a disease right now. If anyway, raise your hand if you say it's impossible. Raise your hand if you say it's impossible. No one. Okay, I'm going to assume that you all voted, and good. I'm going to cut to the chase. I agree with you. Apparently, we are getting somewhere. I totally agree. It is, and whether you're thinking of it in Chris's example or just like in life, I agree that this number 4, as awkward as it sounds, or as weird as it sounds, it is possible. Like number 3 was impossible, but number 4 is possible. And yeah, like for example, with Chris is saying, like the mosquito on the front of the train can enter the train station, and then 5 minutes later, and then it can like back out or whatever, and then 5 minutes later it can enter it again. There's no rule against that. A mosquito could be, or it could go in and then it could back out, right? A mosquito could be at the front of a train station twice, like ever in its life. Or put another way, I could go like, you can't see this. Like here, this candle is at this location right now, right? And then candle's gone, da, 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 and then the candle comes back. It's at the same space point at 2 different time points. By the way, so yes, it's possible. There's another thing we could do if you really want to be explicit about it. I could just hold this candle up here for like an hour. And then that means that means the center of this candle is here at this point in space at 1 o'clock, and it's also here at 2 o'clock. End of story. So yes, number 4 is totally possible. Someone leaving their house and then coming back. Absolutely perfect. Yes. Oh, wait, there's something else in the direct chat. If someone is standing still, maybe someone in the direct chat just put what I just said. Sorry. If someone is standing still for longer than 1 second, wouldn't it be 1 point in space at 2 different times? Yes, right. So I'm sorry, someone beat me to, I didn't see it. I wish I'd seen this in the chat first. Yes, absolutely, direct chat person. Right. The number 4 is totally doable. You could just like stand around for more than a moment and you've done number 4. Yes, very good. So number 4 is totally possible. So finally we go to number 5. Number 5 is 1 mass point at 2 space points at 1 time point, right? So just flip the words around again. Like the other one, number 4 was 1 mass point, 2 time points, 1 space point. This one is 1 mass point, 2 space points, 1 time point. Raise your hand if you say this one's possible. Ah. Okay, some people, okay. So again, we're saying for this one, for number 5, raise your hand if it's possible. And we have 1 hit. Oh, was that a change of mind or that was, okay, maybe that was a change of mind. I'm not sure. Okay, and raise your hand if you say this one's impossible, number 5. A lot of people. Okay, to cut to the chase, I'm just gonna say, unless there's any question, you could raise questions or whatever, or put it, cool. Very honest. Thank you, Harrison. That's awesome. And also, by the way, thank you for showing video. I hope it's clear that you can get tons of points for that. That's awesome. So, yes. So once you reread it or whatever, a lot of people, and I agree with you. I agree with you all. I agree that this one is impossible. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. We have like 15 minutes left. What's the point of all this nonsense? There is a point to all this nonsense. The ultimate point The ultimate. Okay. It seems like these are saying things about space and time. They are indicating things about space and time. We will talk more about the nature of space and time and what all this implies about space and time. But since we only have 15 minutes, I'm going to skip that for like, there was a question on the sheet. What's the deal with space? What's the deal with time? I'll go back to those eventually. But the key question, and sorry, the key question on the sheet, I think it was Harrison or someone pointed out to me, accidentally it says physics 102. I apologize for that. That's a typo from years ago. It should say the key question for physics 204. I'll try to change that. But the key question on this, even though it seems like these 5 tasks are showing us various different weird properties of space or time, what they're actually showing us in the end is the answer to the question at the end of the sheet, which is what is a particle? And here's what I mean. Or in other words, what is a thing? This is telling us more about things than it is about space and time. Hold on. Now, what is a particle? This is actually the issue. And I'm going to infer the answer from what we just did. What many people will say, well, some people think a particle. Oh, I'm sorry, Emily, do you have a question, or is it your hand up just from the thing? If it's a question, feel no, okay, thank you. Okay. Many people, so I say, what is a particle? Many people will say things like, oh, it's a very small object, or it's a subatomic object, or they'll say it's an object that has mass, which isn't terribly wrong, or things like that. Or then people will say, especially based on these exercises, people will say things like a particle is something that occupies space and time. Now, okay, that's a good start. That is a good start. A particle does occupy space and time. That is true. But I want to, before I fully, but there's more to it than that. A particle does occupy space and time, but in a very specific way. I want you to note before I tell you what that specific way is, okay? Note this. Sorry. First of all, I want to sort of remind you or spell out that anything that occupies space and time in a measurable, reproducible, predictable way is a thing that we study in physics. Let me say it conversely. All of physics is the study of stuff, of things that occupy or move through space and time in a measurable, reproducible, predictable way. Now, when I say physics, though, I mean any physics. I specifically mean, for example, physics 203 and physics 204. Whether you're taking physics 203 or 204, what makes them both physics, what make the underlying principles and practices that are the same in physics 203 and physics 204 are that we are studying stuff, things that occupy time and space in a measurable, reproducible, predictable way. So what I'm saying so far, and I'm watching the clock, I promise you, what I'm saying so far is that lots of things occupy space and time, and anything that occupies space and time in this fashion, measurable, reproducible, predictable, is what we call the province of physics. Okay, that's anything. However, some type of things, when they're occupying space and time in a measurable, predictable, reproducible way, some things which occupy space and time are forbidden from performing task 3 and forbidden from performing task 5. Some things can't do number 3 or number 5. For some things, they can't do task number 3 or not task number 5. Anything that we tried in this class, anything that was sitting on our desk or that we sampled, fit this description. In other words, anything that's really thingy, anything that's massive, countable, discrete, separable, tangible, like a pen or a cup or even an electron or a planet or a baseball, thingy things, massive objects, particular, distinct, separable, countable objects, they cannot do number 3 or number 5. These objects are called particles. What a particle is a thingy thing. A thing that is so thingy, that is so tangible or massive or discrete or countable or separable. A particle is a entity, an object that can occupy space or time, but cannot occupy 2 points in space at 1 point in time and cannot co-occupy 1 point in space at 1 point in time with another object. 1 second, please. 1 second. Wait, I'm almost done. I'm teaching. I'm almost done.
Felix, come in.
I know, he can't wait. Sorry. And I really am almost done. So, okay. So a particle is something that can't do 3 and 5. And it doesn't matter how big or small it is. Like electrons can't do 3 or 5. You learned in chemistry in a way. Electrons obey a Pauli exclusion principle. But you can't have 2 electrons in the same state at the same time, right? Like the same orbital, right? I mean, if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay too. But I'm saying it doesn't matter how big or small they are. Electron, baseball, planet, pencil, cup, pieces of mass, countable, separable, tangible objects. What makes them a thing of this kind, what makes them particular, what makes them called a particle is that they cannot be in the same place at the same time as another particle, and they can't be in 2 places at the same time. These things, these particles, are what we were studying in Physics 203. Physics 204. study of physics. So all of physics, whether it's 203 or 204, is about studying things as they move through space and sorry. Whatever physics you're doing, you're studying things moving through space and time in a predictable, reproducible, measurable way. But in physics 203, the players that you're studying are particles. You're studying the trajectories of particles, which is a fancy way of saying the paths of discrete, countable entities. The study of physics 204 is still physics, is still the motion of things through space and time. But in physics 204, the things we're studying ultimately are not particles. We're studying things that do occupy space and time and do move through space and time, but can be in two places at once or can be at the same place at the same time as another thing. What the heck am I talking about? I'm talking about, for example, water waves, sound waves, heat waves, electrical currents, electrical fields, magnetic fields, electromagnetic radiation, otherwise known as light. And I can say that list again. I mean, I know we're running out of time. I'll say that list again, though. The primary focus of physics 204, ultimately, like we have to we have to do a little bit with this thing on the spring to get there. You'll see why we have to develop the math and everything. But ultimately, what we're studying in physics 204 is waves, as in like water waves, sound waves in particular, then electrical fields, electrical currents, magnetic fields, and electromagnetic radiation, otherwise known as light. All of those entities that I just named are, and I'll say it one more time, okay? Water waves, sound waves, electrical fields, electrical currents, magnetic fields, electromagnetic radiation, i.e. light. All of those things that I just mentioned are real things. They really occupy and move through space and time in a predictable, measurable, reproducible way. But if you really think about what makes all those things weird is that they're really unthingy. A sound wave is a thing, but it's very unthingy. What a sound wave is real, but it's not a particle. There's no such thing as a particle of sound. You like if Felix were to come in here right now and right now we have 1 minute. Someone right now, while I'm talking, one of you just talk while I'm talking, like interrupt me for the sake of demonstration. One of you right now, any of you, just say something right now while I'm talking. Just any of you.
Something.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. Now, here's my point. I know we only have 1 minute. I was saying something and then she was saying something. If you heard her something at the same time as you heard my something, right? Or if you've ever in your life listened to music, if you ever, wait, I'll be right there. Oh my God. If you've ever heard music, that means two sounds were hitting your ear at the same time. No joke, not a technicality. So we are here. I'm going to end right now because we are here to study objects that are real but are unthingy. Instead of studying the trajectory of particles, we are here to study the flow of information, not the trajectory of particles, the flow, or in other words, the technical term, the propagation of information. That's the point of physics 204. It's slightly more abstract, so the math is slightly more abstract, but it's therefore also way cooler, I think. Okay, you've been very patient. He's not. I'm gonna go. Bye. Have a good. Oh, was it recorded? Was it not recorded? Oh, it was recorded. Yeah. Okay. Felix. Hello? Hello? Felix? Hi, Felix, you there? Hi, I'm finished. I'm about to come up, but I'm in the middle of class. Is everything okay? Well, like literally now, just give me a sec, like in like 1 minute, just give me a second, okay? Okay. All right. Love you. Okay. Bye. Love you. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Bye. Bye.